The Galactic Academy on Station Kepler 7 was a marvel of interspecies cooperation, where the brightest minds from across known space gathered to learn. Among the sleek Valorians, the crystalline Threnids, and the towering Chromath, one human sat quietly in the back row of advanced xenobiology. Lena Torres had grown accustomed to the stares. Humans were new to the galactic stage, barely a century since first contact, and their presence still drew curiosity, or in some cases, concern. The Vreka were one such case, apex predators from a death world even harsher than Earth. The Vreka resembled what ancient humans might have called werewolves, if werewolves stood 8 feet tall, possessed retractable claws that could shred titanium, and hunted in coordinated packs that had dominated their planet's food chain for millennia. Their integration into galactic society was recent, tentative and fraught with the kind of tension that came from eons of predatory instinct. Most students gave them a wide berth. Lena noticed the young Vreka, barely more than a cub sitting alone in the corner of the cafeteria. His fur was mottled gray and black, still carrying the softer texture of youth, and his ears twitched nervously at every sudden sound. The other Vreka sat together at a different table, their massive forms hunched over trays of raw meat, eyes occasionally flicking toward the cub with something that looked like disappointment. She'd heard the whispers. Rak was considered weak by Vreka standards, too small, too hesitant, too gentle for a species that valued strength above all else. Cast out from the main pack's table, he was caught between two worlds, not human enough for the herbivores and omnivores who feared him, not strong enough for his own kind who scorned him. Lena looked down at her lunch, a carefully packed meal her mother had sent from Earth. Real food was expensive this far from home. The sandwich, the apple, the chocolate bar, each item had cost her family credits they could barely spare. She stood up. The cafeteria's ambient noise seemed to dim as she walked across the room. She could feel eyes on her, dozens of species watching the tiny human approach the predator cub. Rak's head snapped up, his yellow eyes widening. His nostrils flared, and she could see his pupils dilate as he caught her scent. "Hi," Lena said simply, setting her tray down across from him. "Mind if I sit?" Rak stared at her, frozen. His claws extended slightly, an involuntary response to surprise before he forced them to retract. "You should not be here," he rumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. I could what? Be hungry?" Lena unwrapped her sandwich and pushed half across the table. "I noticed you didn't get much. Here. This is your food." His voice carried a note of confusion that transcended species. "Humans need sustenance. I have been told humans are fragile. We're tougher than we look." She bit into her half of the sandwich, maintaining eye contact in what she hoped was a reassuring way, rather than a challenging one. "Besides, sharing food is what humans do. It's how we build packs." Something flickered in Rak's eyes, recognition, perhaps, or hope. Slowly, carefully, he picked up the sandwich with claws that could have torn her apart and took a small bite. His ears perked forward in surprise. "It's good," he said softly. They ate in silence, but it was a comfortable one. When Lena left, she placed her chocolate bar on the table. "For later," she said with a smile. That night, Rak returned to his quarters, a small, isolated room far from the packed dormitories, and placed the chocolate bar on his shelf like a treasure. For the first time since arriving at the academy, he didn't feel entirely alone. The next morning, Lena arrived at her advanced xenobiology class to find her seat surrounded. 7 adult Vreka stood in a loose circle around her usual spot in the back row, their massive forms creating an impenetrable wall of fur and muscle. Students clustered near the door, too frightened to enter. Professor Theln, a Valorian with iridescent scales, stood at the front of the classroom with his communication device raised, clearly ready to call security. Lena's heart hammered in her chest, but she forced herself to walk forward. As she approached, the Vreka turned to face her as one, their synchronized movement the result of thousands of years of pack-hunting evolution. 7 sets of yellow eyes fixed on her. 7 sets of fangs became visible as lips pulled back. She was certain she was about to die. Then they bowed. It was a slight incline of their heads, but unmistakable. The largest of them, a female with silver-streaked fur and scars that spoke of countless battles, spoke in the deep, resonant voice of her kind. The human Lena Torres showed kindness to Rak, the smallest of our pack, when we had shown him only scorn. Her eyes gleamed with something that might have been shame. She shared her food when she had little. She gave respect when we gave none. She treated him as pack when we treated him as burden. Another Rekka stepped forward, his midnight black fur rippling with barely contained power. In our culture, there is a debt that cannot be measured. To feed another is to share life itself. To feed the weakest among us without expectation of return is to demonstrate the strength of spirit that we have failed to show. The silver-streaked female continued. You have shamed us, human, with your compassion, and in doing so you have taught us what we had forgotten. That pack is not only about strength of claw and fang, but strength of heart. They parted, creating a path to her seat. Rak sat in the adjacent chair, his posture straighter than she'd ever seen it, his eyes bright with pride. We guard your seat, the female said simply, as we should have guarded his place among us. This is our debt. This is our shame. This is our honor. As Lena slowly walked to her seat, the other students began to filter in, whispering frantically. Professor Theln lowered his communication device, his expression transforming from alarm to wonder. Lena sat down, her hands still trembling slightly. Rak leaned over and placed something on her desk. A small carved figure worked from what looked like bone or tooth, depicting a human and a Rekka standing side by side. My mother sent this, he said quietly. She says that among our people such gifts are given to pack leaders, to those who remind us what it means to be Rekka, not through violence but through honor. The 7 Rekka remained standing throughout the entire class, an honor guard that needed no explanation. Word spread through the academy like wildfire. The human who had tamed predators not with fear or force, but with a sandwich and a smile. Lena Torres had learned an important lesson that day, one that would echo through human-alien relations for generations to come. Sometimes the greatest strength lay not in showing how dangerous you could be, but in showing kindness to those whom everyone else had forgotten. And the galaxy, for all its advanced civilizations and ancient wisdom, was still learning what humanity had known since sitting around campfires in the dark, that sharing food was the first step toward sharing a future.